Good morning. My name is Aaron Bell. I am a business and commercial transactions and litigation attorney at Buckley Law, upstairs. I have the honor today of welcoming you all to the 2025 Fall Kruse Economic Forum. Today we are pleased to present a discussion on the practical applications of AI in the workplace. The Kruse Economic Forum was founded in April of 2001 as a venue for informed presentations and open discussions of social, economic, and political issues affecting the Portland metropolitan area and the Pacific Northwest. This is a presentation that will provide opportunities for you at the end, and we encourage you, the audience, to participate and ask questions, not only over the course of the presentation, but in the Q&A section that will follow. So it's as interactive as you folks make it. We also want to take this opportunity to thank the sponsors of the Kruse Economic Forum. And when I call out these names, I would appreciate it if folks in the audience that are affiliated with these entities would raise their hands so that you can put a face to the name, please. Buckley Law, there are a number of partners and other members of our firm here in the audience. Carpenter Media and the Lake Oswego Review. Columbia Bank. Hoffman, Stewart, and Schmidt. Lake Oswego Chamber of Commerce. Pragma Group. Schornstein Realty Services. UBS Financial Services. And special thank you to Steve Edwards Video and Voice for recording our presentation today. It is definitely my honor to introduce one of our speakers and our Q&A moderator, Martin Medeiros. Martin is a partner of mine and a shareholder at Buckley Law. With more than 20 years of experience, Martin helps organizations build value by treating intellectual property as a strategic asset. His practice area encompasses a range of services to clients, including business formations and transactions, intellectual property, technology applications, and IT, business succession management, privacy, and security. He has built intellectual property and technology transaction departments for Fortune 500 companies, such as C&F Transportation, American Airlines, Ryder Systems, and the St. Paul. Martin works with clients globally by creating legal systems that limit risk and preserve value, and has authored and edited various parts of the 5-volume set Advising Oregon Businesses. It's actually a good read. In his spare time, he ties competitors up into jiu-jitsu knots. So if you get an opportunity, bend his ear on that topic as well. I introduce you all to Martin.
Thanks, Aaron. That was an interesting intro. So I just want to welcome you to this session. This is really important. We're at a very interesting inflection point in history, and generative AI is everywhere. In this forum, we will discuss the fundamentals of AI and explore how those tools can support teams. We also provide legal updates and implications for businesses. And it's an honor for me to introduce one of our experts in the area of AI, and that is our first speaker, Notarte, co-founder of AI Portland and partner at Cloud4. Megan is a technology leader with over a decade of experience in spearheading innovative initiatives, managing high-impact projects. As the co-founder of AI Portland, she's built a 2,700 plus member community focused on demystifying generative AI and its applications, organizing monthly events that bridge the gap between IA technology and practical business applications. Megan's career also spans roles in operations and business management, including as a partner at Cloud4, where she's led strategic initiatives and managed sizable projects for various companies, including several in the Fortune 500. Please welcome Megan.
Thank you so much for having me. I really am honored to be here to talk to you today about this unique moment we are in when it comes to AI. Martin mentioned, I'm with Cloud4. We've been a web design and development agency for about 20 years in Portland. And also the co-founder of AI Portland. I see some AI Portland friends in the audience, so yeah, we have this organization. We're designed to foster community and conversation about all things AI. Our secret goal is actually increasing innovation and vitality in our creative and tech communities in Portland and surrounding areas, and we're doing that through education and conversation about AI. We do all kinds of events, monthly, usually, sometimes more if we're really doing a lot. We bring together people of all sorts of backgrounds. We've got skeptics, we've got optimists. Everybody is welcome to come and try to figure out what is actually happening right now in AI. I realized I did not start my timer, because you know I could talk for a very long time about this. I like to say we have all different kinds of events. We were lucky enough to have Senator Ron Wyden last year come talk to us about federal privacy regulation. Things have changed a ton since we talked to Ron Wyden last year, but you never know what kind of stuff we're going to have. So definitely, come join our list and learn about what we're into. It has been a busy 20 months since we started AI Portland. We have had over, I would say it's closer to 200 different meetings. We will talk to anyone about AI or AI Portland. If you are one of those people, I will send you my calendar. I'd be happy to talk to you about AI. We've done about 30 events, different kinds of events, science fairs and expert speakers. We do AI literacy workshops, presentations for HR professionals and winemakers, agency folks, consular officials. All of this means I've spent about 2 years talking to lots of people about how they see and experience AI right now. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we're a little lost in this messy moment. And we'll talk a little bit about why it feels so messy and why it feels so hard. And then I promise I will give you practical AI tips at the end. So this is a weird moment, right? These words are part of everyone's regular vocabulary, right? I almost took large language models off of this because it's so normal now. And that is actually very strange when we're thinking about technological revolutions that we have been through. My parents talk about AI every time I see them, right? These are my lovely parents. They are retired. They are not technical people. But every time I see them, all we talk about is AI. And even when I don't see them, and actually, 5:50 this morning, I got a text from my dad with another AI article. And that did not happen. That did not happen with the rise of the mobile phone. That did not happen with the rise of the internet. It didn't happen with social media, although probably it should have. We have learned some lessons. We should have been having some conversations. But it is happening right now to me every day. And we're not just seeing it with my parents, of course, right? We are seeing increased AI usage at work. You can find a lot of statistics right now, especially statistics that support whatever worldview you have about AI and how you think people are using it. I like this research paper because, first of all, it's very recent. We're looking at June, July of 2025. And they correlate the increase of AI usage with a surge in searching for ChatGPT and the surge with people actually subscribing to these tools. So this data feels good. But one of the things I want to point out is that we're still looking at 46% of workers that were surveyed saying they're using AI at work. That's less than half. The hype, and we'll talk about hype a lot today, would have you believe that everybody is using AI all the time, it's changing their whole lives, and if you're not using it, there's something wrong with you. And the truth is, we're still seeing people figure it out. We're all in this moment together. How many of you have seen Gartner's hype cycle chart? Yes, you are my people. This chart meant a lot to me when I first saw it because it helped contextualize what I was seeing and feeling as we navigate this world. So it makes me happy because I felt seen, but also the labels that Gartner uses I just find to be incredibly dramatic and delightful. So, oh, did I lose it? Oh my gosh.
Turned it off.
Here.
I don't think I turned it off. Oh wait, did I turn it off? Once again, not robots, me. So when I first saw this, Gartner had placed generative AI at what it calls the peak of inflated expectations. That definitely feels right? Where the expectations for this technology are much inflated beyond what the technology can deliver. This is from July of last year. Generative AI is now moving towards what it calls the trough of disillusionment. I live in the trough of disillusionment. Trough of disillusionment. I feel like I live in the trough of disillusionment when it comes to AI. I kind of bounce back and forth. I think as where we are now is probably collectively a little bit more towards the bottom. So that means we're disillusioned with what AI can do. And what's interesting to me is where it predicts to go. So we're going to the slope of enlightenment, which sounds like a lovely place, right? And then the plateau of productivity, which is a place I want to live my life. I work hard to live my life there. That place will be where we really understand what this tech can do, right? We know the edges of it. And we're no longer disillusioned. We're also not like super hyped up, right? We know how to work with the tech. We are not there yet. So from talking to people, we've learned people are lost in the middle. You might feel lost. I feel lost sometimes. But people are really ready to figure it out. We've sort of accepted that, yes, this is happening to us. Very cool stuff can happen. Very scary stuff can happen, right? We're ready to figure it out without being lost in that trough of disillusionment too long. Oh, man, I'm hot. Let's see. Let's try moving it down a little bit. Maybe?
You're standing on the screen.
Is it because I'm too close to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably picking
Okay.
up some interference from the
Okay.
remote too.
We'll keep going. I call this the messy middle. And I don't know, have you guys ever seen the humanoid robot soccer league in China? There's a whole thing. It's an entire thing. And I like this video because first of all, it makes me laugh every single time. I've given this talk a bunch. This makes me crack up. But I also feel like it is very demonstrative of this moment, right? Because when you first see these robots, it is very exciting. You can see that one is ready to guard that goal, right? The one that's walking, like, look at it go, right? But it doesn't kick the ball, right? It doesn't actually do the task that it's set out to do, right? It's hilarious, it's very impressive, but it doesn't quite make it. And there is a lot of that in AI right now, right? Where you can see it, you're like, wow, this is gonna change my life, but the reality is the robot misses the ball and falls over, and then a person has to come get it and like take it out. So why is this so hard? I'm gonna talk about a couple of reasons we're seeing some friction. The first thing is that individual solutions don't often scale to the organization. So you might see those 46% of workers who are finding ways of using ChatGPT or Copilot, but then when you come to scale that to their team or their organization, it just doesn't apply in the same way, right? Well, I was talking to Alec earlier about what we're really looking for are organizational change initiatives, right? Those individual ChatGPT solutions are not really addressing that. We've also found that technical expertise is really still needed. The word on the street is that you don't need it, right? That like anybody can vibe code anything today, which is true. There's a broad democratization of access to skills and tools that we didn't have before. But the truth is that you still need to know how to write software well, right? You need to know how to give the instructions. This is great news for engineers who have been told for 2 years that their jobs will no longer exist. The truth is we still need them, and you'll find points of friction as you start to build AI tooling within your organization if you don't have technical skills right now. I want to talk about hype more. I said I was going to talk about hype a lot because we all participate in this hype cycle. So we're getting hype from headlines, we're getting hype from the people who make AI, but we also participate in hype cycles sometimes. So these are all things I have seen on LinkedIn, right? Comments that people make on LinkedIn. Generative AI tool is my whole personality. This is a real LinkedIn comment. Okay. And I don't believe that this lovely person's whole personality is a generative AI tool that generates slideshows, slide decks, right? I know she's being hyperbolic, right? But I take away some implicit things from comments like that. First, I think, wow, she must be using that tool, right? If she said something like that. And second of all, I take away, like, it must work for her. And then someone might ask me down the road, like, hey, have you heard of any really great slide generation tools? And I might tell them, yeah, like I heard Gamma, I can't remember the tool she used. I heard it's really good. It's gossip that's playing out in terms of the hype cycle. What happens with that is you might pick up that tool, as I did, and it turned out like it didn't really work. And I spent unnecessary time in the trough of disillusionment thinking it's me when really the tech just wasn't quite there yet. So I like to caution people around like how we're playing a role in that hype. It's really important for us to talk about things that work well. It's just caution around how we might perpetuate things. So we're getting it from our friends on LinkedIn, we're getting it from OpenAI and all the manufacturers of AI tools, we're getting it from the headlines. We're in a unique place where the tools itself tells us things that aren't quite true, right? I was working on a fundraising campaign because I don't have enough jobs. I am also the booster president for the jazz band, the band program at Mountain View High School. And they won an invitation to a really prestigious conference, and we needed to do like a corporate fundraising campaign. ChatGPT is so great for that. Helped me formulate different donation levels. It even made me like a letter. It laid out the letter. And then it told me, hey, like, do you want me to do that in Canva? I was like, oh my gosh, that would change my life. Yes, I do. It gives me a link, which doesn't work. That is a lie. It actually can. It can do more with Canva now than it used to, but it still can't do what I needed it to do. So I went back and forth with the tech. I asked ChatGPT a million times, like, try it this way. Do I need to log into Canva? What do you need? So it's like, I got you, Megan. Here is the letter with an editable link, and that is a lie too. So this hype is real, right? We're getting it all around us, and it makes it very difficult for any one of us to know what is actually working. There are things that are working. It is very hard when we're getting it from everything, including the tool itself. So what makes it also very messy is that we have uneven adoption. So if you work with clients, you might have a marketing team on your team, but you also might have, in the case of the winemaking team we worked with, people who are managing the workers who are harvesting grapes, right? And in that case, we're seeing really vast different adoption levels. So this is a Gallup poll. This is from Q2 of this year. That top line is white-collar workers, and the bottom line are blue-collar workers. So we are seeing a significant increase in AI at work among white-collar workers, but on the front line, blue-collar workers, we're really not seeing much of an uptick at all. So it's hard to push through a new initiative if you're like really gung-ho about AI, if you have this disparate view on your team. Another Gallup poll that I find very interesting, and we're talking more about views of AI, because there is a philosophical point of view with AI as well. They asked folks, like, if you're, in terms of incorporating AI, are you more likely to resist using AI or embrace it? And 64% said they were going to resist using AI as long as possible. 35 said they were going to embrace it. Now, they had to pick extremes. Maybe most people felt like, whatever, I'm in the middle. But I do think this is very telling. So when you're working with new initiatives, you might have someone on your team who is in that 64%. And you have to think about how you're going to talk about doing this cool, innovative thing when you have someone who's going to resist using the tech as long as possible for whatever reason. It makes it a very messy time. Okay, so what do we do? How do we move forward? Because it's here. There are really cool things that AI does. How do we move through this messy moment and try to arrive at that blessed plateau of productivity? It's kind of two things, right? We want to evaluate the landscape, and then it's really important to spend time exploring. So to evaluate the landscape, this is where we're going to get a little bit more practical. We should know what AI is good at and what it is not good at. So AI, look, we can run through this. Generative AI, and you probably know a lot of this, but generative AI is very good at content and media creation, right? It can write a novel for you. It can write your child's college essay if you allowed it. We were talking about this earlier. That is it's like kind of table stakes on what generative AI can do. But it's also really good at editing, right? So if you take something that you have written and you ask it to instead give you editing feedback as if you are Professor John Down, right? I assume you give good editing feedback. I mean, we talk about college essays, for example. That's where my headspace is right now. Giving the college essay and asking it to act like a college admissions advisor and give feedback is a good way of using this tech that still allows you to be the author of what you're writing. It's really good at data analysis and summarization. So when I was preparing for that interview with Senator Wyden, Senator Wyden has been a senator for a very long time. He has said many, many things about technology. And I felt like I had to get up to speed pretty quickly on everything the man ever said about technology. So I used a tool called Notebook LM. I pulled in articles, videos, podcast episodes he did, pulled it all into a notebook, and it would give me, first of all, a summary. Here are Ron Wyden's thoughts on Section 237, whatever. But I could also ask it questions based on the stuff that I gave it, right? Natural language questions. It gave me an FAQ. It'll even make a podcast for me of the content, which is crazy. I'm not sure if y'all have ever seen it, but it's like all AI generated voices. And I could like fold my laundry and listen to all the things Ron Wyden said about technology in the year 2020. It's also really good at ideation and brainstorming, right? If you have challenges getting from like 0 to 1 in sort of your thought process, it can give you 40 ideas on something very quickly. I really like to use it as a brainstorming partner. I'm getting stuck on an idea for like a new event or something like that. Generative AI is really helpful for that. And then, very good at explaining and teaching, not a replacement for our favorite professor, but if you're taking a complex topic and wanting to understand it, asking it to explain it to you like an 8th grader is, again, sort of table stakes. Like, tell it to me like I'm a child, is very helpful. It's important for us to know what it is not good at, maybe even more important, right? So we live in a world right now where machines sound like people. And I know, like, you know it's not a human, but not everyone understands that. And there can be times in your life where it will sound very human-like, and like you might need that at that moment, right? It's important for us to know that we are talking to a machine. It does not have the emotional intelligence that we have as we walk around this world. No matter how much it sounds like a person, it is not a person. And I know we all know that, but it's really important that as we're interacting and chatting with these tools that sound more and more like us every day, we know we are talking to a machine, we are talking to an algorithm. As an algorithm, it does not walk around the world with the context that we have when we walk around the world.
You gotta move away from the speaker.
That one.
Yeah.
Which one? Okay.
Right up there.
I will stay in my box over here. Thank you. You're like this whole time, you're like, Megan, just stop moving over there. Cool, I will stay over here. It doesn't have the context for your request if you do not give it to it, right? I might be able to go up to a friend and they know about my life. I can ask them a question, they'll be able to help me. Generative AI does not have that context. You have to give it to the tool. And then you can get great results. But if you don't and you get a weird response, it might just be because it doesn't have enough information. It gets things wrong, right? Factual accuracy, we know this. The thing about generative AI is it gets things wrong and it sounds really, really right. It speaks with so much confidence when it says something wrong that it can be very hard for us to ascertain that it's incorrect. So it's important that we remember everything that's coming out, no matter how confident it sounds, we need to verify that it is right. When I was working on preparing for the Ron Wyden interview, I had citations in Notebook LM so I could go and read the source of what he said to make sure that he actually said that the information was correct. Finally, generative AI. I don't think, mark my words, on this day, I don't think generative AI will ever really nail taste and discernment. We use that context, that emotional intelligence to determine whether a piece of content that we're putting in a newsletter is correct or right or feels right. Whether a piece of art that we're putting in a room is right. That is squishy, it's gray, humans know how to do this well. Generative AI is not going to be able to tell you that. I can't wait for like a year when someone's like, wow, generative AI is really good at this, Megan. It's helpful to think of these tools as a very educated but incredibly inexperienced intern, right? So you managed to hire the smartest graduate from like the best Ivy League school who knows nothing about you, nothing about the job you're asking it to do, but lots of other information. So yes, super smart, but doesn't really know what you're asking. In this case, when we're working with like a really smart intern, you'll do a couple things. You'll make sure you define a task really well, right? You won't just be like, go write this report. You're like, okay, let me tell you about this report, who the audience is, here's where the data is coming from, here's what I expect success to look like. And then when that intern is done working, you're gonna take that work back and you're gonna be like, did they get it right? You're not just gonna take that really smart but inexperienced intern's work and send it to your clients or put it out to the public. So this is the same thing with generative AI. Do a little prep and also always, always, always validate. Now that we understand the landscape in so much as you can understand the landscape in 8 minutes, it's time to explore. Honestly, there has never been a more exciting time to explore technology. And when you're doing that, you might wonder, how do I know where the right opportunities are? So we like to talk to people about making a list of the tasks you do. Like our jobs are like really cool and we're important and stuff, but also our jobs are really just a series of tasks we do on like a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Literally make a list of those tasks. Now that we know what generative AI is good at, you can start to look at places where it might be able to help with those tasks that you do. You should be looking for tasks that you're doing regularly, right? So there's some sort of frequency. Maybe things that are more or less frustrating, right? So what are the things that are a drag on your team or on you? And then if it fits AI strengths, those are good opportunities for exploration. So if you have a task that you do once a year, but it is literally the worst thing you do at work, then maybe that's a great opportunity to explore. If it's something that takes 5 minutes, you do it once a year and it's super easy, probably not, right? It's just a good place to get started. And when we look from a problem point of view, it allows us to say, is AI the right solution for this particular problem? You might find that it's not, right? Maybe the person just needs another email or something, or an automation that doesn't need the magic of AI on top of it. And when we look from a problem perspective, it also allows us to say, is the cost of AI worth it? There is an economic, financial cost, right? Sometimes these models get quite expensive when you're doing like really cool stuff. There's an environmental cost, right? Some people are, rightly very concerned about that. There's ethical costs. So when we're looking from problems, we can say, like, in these cases, it is worth it to use this new technology. It's going to save us a bunch of time. It's going to allow us to do more things, deliver more for our customers. It's important to have that mindset, that point to be like, is this the right solution for this problem? Whenever you're working with AI, and I think, Martin will probably talk about legal stuff about AI, so I won't touch on that too much, but you should be building some sort of lightweight guardrail kit. So you should be talking to your team about acceptable use. It doesn't have to be a written, signed thing, but it should be a conversation. What tools are we using? What's in and out of what we're going to use these tools for? Guys, I am just breaking the microphones today.
Thanks to your hair.
Is it my hair? Okay. It's like, I'm sorry. We should be talking about these things. We should also be talking about how we're handling data, right? If you have PII, you should not just be putting this in ChatGPT. Like that's a bad idea. You should be talking to your team about even client data if you work with clients, right? Can you redact documents and then be able to use them in Copilot? Maybe you feel more comfortable if you take all the identifiable information out of it. I created a custom GPT for Cloud4 for reviewing SOWs, and to train it, like the data I provided, I just took out all of our information in our contracts, right? No company information, no client information, just like the clauses, so it would help me see if I'm missing anything in the new contract. Always plan for human in the loop sign-offs, right? Like every point along the way where something is going out to the public, you should be planning for the place that someone's reviewing it. We had the VP of Innovation from the Portland Trailblazers at AI Portland last week, and he was talking about all the ways that they're innovating with AI, and one of the things he was talking about was that they get customer feedback and they email customers, but those emails never go directly from the AI to the customer. It goes in an outbox or a draft box, and then now that customer service rep's job is reviewing those and making sure they're accurate and appropriate. Always checking for bias and voice, right? So these tools are trained on the internet. The internet is a biased place. We should always be having points where we're checking for factual accuracy, inclusivity, authenticity, brand voice. And we should expect robot soccer, right? We should be prepared that the tech might not work the way that you expect it to right now. That doesn't mean it never will. It just means that right now it's not exactly where you need it to be for your particular purpose. So in any of these explorations, you should be planning to pause when it feels like the ROI just isn't there for what you're trying to do. Maybe you pick it up again in 6 months. It might be hype. It may not be you. I have to tell myself that a lot when I started that AI slide generation tool. I was like, man, she said it was her whole personality. Why is it not working? It just wasn't there yet. And I know it's not her whole personality. Are you all familiar with Ethan Mollick? He wrote the book Co-Intelligence. Highly recommend a book about how to work with this new intelligence that we have in our world. I love him. You should follow him on LinkedIn. He writes about AI, lots of research papers. It's a lot. I don't know how he does it. I suspect he's using AI. But I like this quote because basically he's saying the value from AI doesn't come from surrendering ourselves totally to AI. It comes from finding those right points of collaboration. And he goes on to say that that is a skill that we are all still learning. If Ethan Mollick, who writes about AI, 17 times a day, is still learning where those points of collaboration are, then we are all still learning, right? We are all still learning where that is, and that's why these explorations are so important. So the thing about this learning in this messy moment is we just don't know what is going to happen. The New York Times in 1903 wrote that it could be 1 year or 10 million years until humans achieved flight, and 69 days later, the Wright brothers flew for the first time. That struck me because we're in a lot of that situation. It could be 1 year to AGI. It could be 10 million years, right? Right, we don't know. So the most we can do is be prepared, do these explorations, and learn the landscape. So thank you. Oh, I'm over time. Thank you so much. One postscript. This is late breaking. If you are not sure what AI model to use, there is ChatGPT, there is Grok, there is DeepSeek, there is Claude, there's so many, right? Ethan Malik, who I one day will make my best friend, he writes a post about figuring out which model to use given your use case. He just updated it. It is at this QR code. Highly, highly recommend. And now I'm done causing feedback. Thank you.
Now I'm going to talk about AI in the workplace and AI in the law. So, thank you to our sponsors, that's who we are. All right, here is my content. And AI in the law is an interesting topic, and it can be very dry. And one of my theses today is that everything has changed and nothing has changed. And I think both things can be true at the same time. But now I will give you a summary of my entire speech, should be about 20 minutes, in limerick form. There once was an AI with great impact, whose code sparked a fierce legal contract. On intellectual property grounds, it faced lawsuits, profound, but evolved, leaving lawyers intact. So I think a lot is going to change with AI, and the primary filter we have is what should you care about with AI in the law? And there are only 3 things I hope you walk away with today that will make you understand everything you need to know about AI in the law. But before I get to those 3 things, I want to get to kind of what AI is not. AI is not very innovative, and it's not funny. I have tried to prompt it to give me funny jokes, and I test them out on my wife, and she hates them. She won't talk to me because they're so bad. So AI is not funny. I think AGI will be achieved when it's actually funny. That's my theory. Actually that should be swapped. AI. But what it is, it's the lowest common denominator because it's hungry for data. And a lot of the data, if it's not bespoke data or containerized data, it's the internet at large. And we all know that the internet is full of truths and accurate data. But that's why I call it the lowest common denominator. It's a really good search engine. If you prompt it right, it can be a really powerful tool. But to rely on it for truth and it's not like a peer review study or anything, or you have to really think about it. But it is informed by average humans in the art. What do I mean by that? If you point it at physicists, it'll look at a bunch of papers, say if you're studying particle physicists and you want a summary or something, but it'll look at those learned papers and give you the lowest common denominator for that group if it's clean. 55% of academic papers cannot be reproduced, so it's less than half. So you have to think about, well, what is this data set I'm relying my business on or anything else? So here's another thesis I have in understanding AI. All models are wrong, but some are useful. It's a large language model are these chatbots, that application of AI. It's a model and it's wrong. And I'm going to talk about two things today, data contamination and data poisoning, that are being tweaked in the model. And it's something that concerns, because it does create liability. And again, truth, one of my favorite mathematicians, John von Neumann, truth is too complicated to allow anything but approximations. I really believe that to be true. And in law school, they really ruin your brain because you start seeing two sides to every argument. When I went into law school, I thought I knew everything. So, why this is important. People are being sued in AI more than ever. Largest cause of action is intellectual property. Just yesterday, we're seeing a lot more defamation. In Delaware Superior Court, there was a lawsuit filed against Google. Why? Because this individual put their name in and they were associated with very loathsome crimes. This is in today's Wall Street Journal. So you probably want to AI yourself. And if there's something you don't like or that's not true, you may be entitled to compensation. But, defamation is one of those things that's a growing cause of action. And legislators, not to be undone, there have been, since I last counted, 1,018 pieces of proposed legislation in the 50 states. It's largely state law now. And, a fraction have been passed. I don't know what Connecticut is doing, but they like to regulate AI. So this is the core of my thesis, and this is going to be an interactive session. This is everything you need to know about AI. Can everyone please say the word impact?
Impact.
Can everyone please say the word contracts?
Contracts.
Can everyone say the word IP, which means intellectual property?
IP.
All right, that's all you need to know about IP, about about AI and the law. And let me expand on that. What's the impact? One thing is privacy. We have AI in facial recognition technology, and the issue there, and you look at these cases, it's where do I have a reasonable expectation of privacy? Where can my face not be used in an AI to do something or something else? For example, maybe in my office, if I'm a worker, maybe your employee handbook should specify your use of AI in the workplace. Secondarily, you have to have, in most states, the permission of the person's name, image, likeness to use their voice, their face, or something that approximates them. They have to be signed off. Famous case, that's still good law in Oregon. It was a Myers and Frank, for those who remember that store. It was a TV commercial. Someone in the background was just a regular shopper. They were featured in it, and they didn't receive compensation. They sued, and they actually got money because it was commercial purpose for their image in that ad. So if you have anyone, even your employees, if you're using them for marketing and stuff, make sure in the handbook or in some type of thing, and Bill Garr is our HR partner and president of Buckley Law. He knows all this stuff, but you need somewhere to state, I have the permission to use your name, your image, and like I say, if you're doing a marketing thing. If not, and it's always, they leave, they're disgruntled, they see their picture in an ad, and then you get the demand there. So you want to make sure that you have this name, image, likeness, because you can take still images, as our wonderful photographers told me, you can make movies out of a postcard, a still postcard, and you can make people, if you have like a voice print in their face, you can make an ad featuring the person moving around and saying stuff. So important stuff. You're going to see this is a growing area. In hiring, there's a problem with this concept of, remember I said AI is all about data? It's data available. It's called data availability bias. Generally, any AI model will be biased on this data set, obviously. What the case at Point involved was a hiring for an IT company, information technology company. They had this system, a policy to hire. It was first in, first out. They would get resumes and they would go to the oldest resumes and put them into search and make job offers. And after a few cycles of that, they noticed, or a group of employees noticed, that most of the employees were male that were getting hired. The new resumes had about 50-50 male-female, and they sued, saying the AI, interview granting product you were using was biasing it because your data sample was biased. So if you have a lot of applicants, fresher data is probably better because of this data availability bias that some AIs have bitten employers by. It's stated specifically in certain privacy laws. California is probably, they don't have the most legislation on AI, but they certainly have the most heavily regulated AI. If there's still an AI industry in 5 years in California, I'd be surprised because it's so restrictive and it's general. And whenever there's ambiguity, those questions are answered on the anvil of litigation. So it's going to take a few years before we understand how to interpret those statutes. So I want to talk about contracts next. Remember, impact, contracts, IP. That's all you need to know. Contracts. Every contract you have with a client or that you use, say a vendor contract, you have to address the issue of AI. Why? In typical contracts, we have this no reverse engineering, no this of the technology, they may be exposed, there may be disclosures. You want to make sure that they don't take your trade secrets or your confidential information, drop it in an AI, and innovate or compete with you. So too, even in those terms of use that everyone like cut and pastes from someone else, some other one, which may be infringement, I'm not advocating that, but your terms of use can actually save you. In one of the biggest copyright cases you may have heard at, it's New York Times v. ChatGPT, Microsoft and everyone else. They said, hey, we're the New York Times, do this investigative reporting, we pay all this money, and then your LLM just crawls over our data and then it spits it out as output. And then the attorneys at ChatGPT looked at the complaint and they said, in order to get this information, you actually violated our terms of use. So that was their counterclaim. So your terms of use is really the firewall. I helped start an AI company in 2016. It was started in Singapore, now it's in Texas. But in our terms of use, way back when, because it is an AI company, it's not an LLM, it's a machine learning company, but we have in the terms of use, no AI can use anything on our website. It's our intellectual property, you need a license to use it. That's something that you should be included in that contract. In terms of use is a binding contract. Your privacy policies, again, what's the scope of my expectation of privacy? I can have, it used to be, for privacy laws, HIPAA or GDPR, it used to be, if I can link two pieces of information together and determine your identity, then that's PII. Well, now I may need only one piece of information that's unique to you, and then a bunch of surrounding information, and I can tell exactly who you are. And I'm sure some of you have used this technique to find out people who you think are anonymous. Privacy policy, very important on restricting the use of AI and how you can use things that people would have reasonable expectation of privacy. Third-party contracts, these are vendor contracts. You get a vendor, you hire them, maybe they're an independent contractor, maybe they're a developer. They'll be exposed to your environment, they'll know your stuff. They may want to drop your stuff into an AI and compete with you. Vendors will eventually compete with you. Ask all the the regular manufacturers of food products, how well they like, the Costco house brand. Big article the other day about how that's cutting away because they're all their products are being reverse engineered by some, not only Costco, but other white label companies. Intellectual property. When was the first AI patent filed? Any guesses? What year? Artificial intelligence. 1950, oh, you're stealing my thunder. 1963. So, 1963, the first patent that describes an LLM, it was a neural network patent, that's what they called it. Neural network software patent was 1963. So, nothing has really changed. That technology has been out there, but now we're getting better with it and how to use it, and working with different models. And remember, all models are incorrect, some are useful. So AI users can certainly violate IP rights of others if your AI uses third-party data, but to what extent? We had a great discussion with our film crew here before about, well, if I take a picture of someone and I animate it and it's just for them, private use, is that infringement? That's a great copyright question. So copyright, it protects expressive content and it allows you to copy, distribute, whatever. And there are exceptions to infringement, which is called fair use, but generally, if you have it for your own use, like you take a picture and you're enjoying it, probably not. If you start to commercialize it, it's probably infringement. And you see lawsuits around that when people are using images that may be more than a public view. It's called scene affaire. But it's something that I have to be in a private space to take a picture of. For example, if you go to the Portland Chinese Garden, I've been a member since they opened, they really control that inside environment because all that stuff they consider sculpture. And if you want to film a wedding there, you actually have to have a license. And they take their, $500 and then you can do your photography there. I don't know what the current rates are, but long story short, think about what you're doing with AI to keep those, take a still photograph and then make it into motion, use it in marketing. Marketing is commercial use, obviously. So one big problem is this idea of waiver. All your prompts are not private. They actually train the AI. And we're going to talk about some studies that just came out. If you have a trade secret and you have something, this would just be optimized. So I describe it into an AI and I say, hey, make this better or solve this problem. That now is training data for someone else. So given that same prompt, someone else will see that exact same thing. This has to do with a concept called data contamination in AI. And you've waived the right to claim trade secret because it's now public information. So too, clients may take a brief or a memo, attorney-client memo. I want to check up on my attorney, cut and paste it, put it in the AI. You have just waived attorney-client privilege. That's now public information. And there's actually a case on that. So you can't claim attorney-client privilege if you use a public AI, drop it in there, then for that same fact pattern, someone's going to see your exact case, fact pattern, and all the terribles that you thought you had with attorney-client privilege. It's another issue. Expectation of privacy and waiver of these confidential rights. Recurring theme, the contract you have with your passive world on your website, that's your best defense against a lot of this AI stuff. So it's a good idea to take a look at that. So I want you to understand the model. But before I do, 2 model problems. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I publish about 2 research papers every week. They're not mine, they're from people who actually know what they're talking about. One is this idea of data contamination. How accurate and can I rely on AI? And if I have 20 minutes, but never give an attorney 20 minutes what they can say in 17 pages. This is my white paper. If you want it, it's a little bit more in depth, but this idea, and it doesn't, what I'm going to talk about now is not in that paper because this paper is a couple months old and this is new research. Researchers at Stanford, they tried to trick AI in this idea of data contamination. They gave it a 5-element question and they said pick the wrong answer. And A, B, C, D, E, E was the wrong answer. It picked the right answer. It said E is incorrect. Got it right. Then they started the same thing, except they took out the wrong answer. They said, what's wrong with this? And it gave kind of ridiculous answers, and they did it again. They did it again. They did it 5 times. By the 5th time, it had the exact, what's wrong with this question? It had the exact, it added element E, the exact wrong answer. Not like something near, the exact text. That's data contamination. When if I prompt something enough, I can actually contaminate the outcome based on my prompts. Based on my prompts. So you do contaminate the data because it is training data for that AI. Something to know. When I talk about data poisoning, this just came out last week, whereby the researchers at Anthropic, so this is an AI company, and I do give them credit for exposing this huge flaw in the AI model. They used a string of characters and then data that was incorrect on some notion, and it was wrong. It was totally wrong. It was a lie. And then they tried to populate the data set of AI, which is the internet. And the question was, how many times do we have to publish this bad fact in various content types, video, blogs, social media posts, to contaminate all of the internet for the AI? Do you know how many times they had to post that? Or 3 times? Not quite. But it was 250 times. And that was like the apex. If they did it more, it didn't matter. So 250 bad pieces of data can contaminate the entire internet and give AIs a wrong response, which is very significant for those who rely on on these chatbots for the ultimate truths. It's not there. Malefactors, bad actors can poison that data. This is called AI data poisoning. It's going on now to change, you can use it for political means, for scientific, undermining scientific research, or other things. The last thing I want to talk about is, for all the horror stories that I trotted out today, the one thing about AI is it can do amazing things. Although it's in process, the initial research on can AI help doctors with imaging, diagnose with imaging, x-rays, CAT scans, everything. The issue was doctors didn't do it as well as AI, according to one study, or the study that was most cited, but now it's being challenged. And the question is this going to change standards? Is it, in fact, malpractice for a doctor not to use AI if it's better than the human? And we don't know those questions, we're finding that, but the models do not work. But everything you need to know about AI is, number 1, impact, number 2, and number 3, those are my comments today. Now I'm going to ask Megan back, and you can ask the expert questions. So please let me know your questions.